The benefits of coronavirus: exterminates all the weak people, gives the planet peace to recover, stops economic crisis, provides a huge DNA database of people. Do you think the coronavirus is man-made? If you think so, then you are completely 100% right. The following is a True Tanis theory. Here is the explanation from Jacob Tanis. The coronavirus has existed for many years, but has been hidden away in laboratories, and should only be used in emergencies. The virus is designed to affect all the old people and the sick, weak people in the world. In other words, all the people who are too weak and require too many resources, without even contributing anything positive to the world. So everyone who is a burden must die, to bring the earth into balance. How can the virus choose between young and old people? Try to think about it. Okay, I give you the answer now. The answer is stored in our vaccines. For approximately 30 years ago, the childhood vaccine was added an enzyme that has never been published, the enzyme CODEF82, that is a resistant enzyme against COVID-19, and therefore children and young people are much more protected against COVID-19. The coronavirus was always meant to be used, and what better time than 2019 to 2020? Do you remember the time at the end of 2019? The world was on the brink of a war. World War III. The United States and China were already in a trade war, and Russia was right on the heels of the United States. In late 2019 things was so tense that a war would be almost inevitable. How has the coronavirus positively affected the economic crisis, which also was more or less inevitable? Now listen carefully. The difference between rich and poor in the world was at its highest, and consumption was at its lowest, which is never a good combination with a crisis underway. The coronavirus forced many of the world's largest companies to use their company savings, and their values to get through the coronavirus. Governments around the world are forced to post money into society, for wage compensation, and loss of income for small businesses. The 5 biggest tech firms, Amazon, Apple, Alphabet, Facebook, and Microsoft, lost a combined $450 billion in value, as the markets continue to crater on coronavirus fears and economic uncertainty. Exactly as expected. Shares of Apple plunged 9.88%, Facebook fell 9.30%, Alphabet dropped 8.2%, Amazon fell 7.98%, and Microsoft dropped 9.48%. As investors continue to worry about the spread of coronavirus and its potential impact on the economy. What does it mean when countries post billions in their countries? And that the biggest companies lose money? Think about it, more money in circulation. And more money in circulation means less risk of economic crisis. The next main reason is the climate. No man or woman, no country or continent, would ever be able to make planes stand still, and make polluting factories around the world stop working. No one on this planet has enough power to accomplish this. None, absolutely none. Only through a common interest with the people, a war against an invisible enemy, a world that stands together against the destruction of mankind. And what could it be? Yes, you guessed it, a worldwide epidemic, coronavirus COVID-19. Coronavirus is a world epidemic of such a magnitude, that it can divert focus from an ongoing trade war, a political disagreement that could trigger World War III. And here comes the most ingenious thing in this whole tale. Your DNA. Just before the epidemic in 2019, rules worldwide were tightened on the Data Registration Act, just to make people feel safer, that is, just before they test billions of people for coronavirus, in exactly the same way as they take DNA samples from humans. Do you think they delete your DNA information, as required by the Data Registration Act? Absolutely not. Now there is a DNA register of almost all people in the Western world, and soon the rest of the world will follow. Thank you for listening to one of the Tanis theories. Remember to subscribe, or else I will jump out of the screen and bite you in the ass.